Okay. Hello, everybody. Yesterday, when I was leaving Helsinki, after having 2 weeks of spring already, it was snowing heavily in the morning. So I'm very happy to be here in sunny Bucharest, in a Finnish summer weather. And I'm happy to give you a short speech about how architecture education is taught in Finnish schools, and also to learn how the arhitectura works here in Romania. So thank you very much for inviting me here. Next. Okay. Here you can hopefully see the Finnish education system, how it goes from the early childhood education to pre-primary, then primary basic education, and upper secondary, and so on. And I'm not going to talk too much about the system itself. If you want to know more about it, there is now a new website. The address is there, and it's in English, so you can study the Finnish school system from that website. The next one, please. And in Finland, it is the National Board of Education that draws up the national core. This is, sorry? This is the wrong slide, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, the Finnish National Board of Education that draws up the national core curricula for basic education in the schools, but it also sets out the key objectives, contents and policies for basic education in the arts. And what's the difference between these two systems is that basic education is compulsory, it is complementary, free of charge, and it reaches absolutely everybody. And basic education in the arts is optional, and you usually have to pay for it. It depends where you live, whereabout in Finland, how much it costs. So it's a hobby, it's an after-school activity. And later today you will hear from Pihla Meskanen how Arkki, the school for children and young people, is bringing the curricula to practice. But today I'm concentrating a little bit to the basic education curricula and from the point of view of architecture education. Next, please. It seems that I have not made the picture smaller or something, perhaps. I'm sorry. Yes, it's this one. Until or between 2004 and 2016, we had a curricula that had these seven integrating themes that you can see on the right side. And the meaning of them was to give possibility to integrating different school subjects. And although these themes gave possibilities for architecture education as well, the main emphasis on architecture was based on the visual art curricula, and that is visual art in the basic education system. And there was a compulsory course called Environmental Aesthetics, Architecture and Design. So that was something that every child had between these years, about 12 years. But I have once counted that it was how many hours, how many lessons was it? So if the basic education is for 9 years, there was 72 hours for architecture in these 9 years, and that means 8 hours per year. That's 1 school day, or almost 2 school days. But that's only about 0.9% of all the lessons. So it's not much, but at least it was absolutely compulsory for everyone. Yes, thank you. And we have just had a renewal of the curricula. And the new curricula, it focuses on school culture and integrating approach. And it put, not yet, it put the learner in the very center. No, this one. In the very center, and it changed the themes into objectives and aims. And if you look at these aims, for example, thinking and learning to learn, of course, with architecture education, it's about creative thinking, problem solving, and such things. Cultural competence, interaction and expression. It's about identification to your own environment and learning about the environments of different cultures. Taking care of oneself and others, managing daily activities. That's about your daily living conditions. Multiliteracy, that's about how architecture can also be, or architecture is a language, and how you read it all the time. You read the messages and meanings of built environment. ICT competence, it's about technology and how you use computers and learn to draw perhaps 3D with your own iPads, which are now in very many schools in Finland with every child. Competence for the world of work and entrepreneurship, it's about architects and city planners' work, of course, when we talk about architecture education. And it's about creativity, because creativity, of course, it's useful for all occupations. You need it in everything. And then participation and influence, building the sustainable future. That's obvious, that's our job to tell the teachers and the children, to teach them how to influence to that with architecture. And now the next, please. And even though we have this new curricula, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't have any school subjects. So the subjects, they have not disappeared, but there are about 20 different subjects that you during your 9 years of basic education, you will learn something about 20 subjects. And in this slide, the new curricula, it emphasizes multidisciplinary modules. And this is obligatory for all schools. They have to have at least one of those. It can be arranged in different ways, but they have now started it basically perhaps with project weeks. And if you think, For me, maybe visual arts and craft they are the creative subjects at school. And what if we take the theme architecture, we combine, for example, visual art with mathematics, music, and physical education? What kind of architecture education would come from that? Or we combine craft, home economics, and health education. How do we deal with architecture in that combination? So the multidisciplinary module means that you have to combine at least 3 school subjects, their contents and their objectives, and try to work with children with that. And the children also have to have a say to how they want to learn and how they want to work and what kind of entities they will build with these subjects and the themes they are handling. Yes, next one. Yes, and then there are learning environments. The new curricula emphasizes that we should go out from the schools. We should go to the museums and different kind of cultural institutions and living environment. For example, the urban environment or architectural masterpieces or whatever. So out of the school to different environments and also virtual environments. Next, please. So in the schools, the visual art teachers are still very active, and there are architecture as an optional course of visual art. It can take whole semester or even whole school year once a week, if the visual art teacher wants to give that to the students and if there are enough people interested in it. Next one, please. And in some schools, there has now been, we have tried to, and there are some examples of architecture as an optional subject. That is also happening, but usually the teachers will need some help from the professionals of architecture education. Next one, please. Well, the next one is after-school architecture clubs, which is part of the government's key project funded by the Ministry of Education, that all the players in the cultural field would go into the schools and have art and culture clubs for the pupils in the afternoons or in the middle of the day. And we are in the Architecture Information Center, we are now having architecture afternoon clubs in 4 cities in Finland. So that's the first time of this kind of activity happening. And trying to find a way to continue that after the funding of the ministry ends, because of course everything is project-based today. So in this picture, this is from a club where the students wanted to learn how to do architecture, how to design with their iPads and the programs, different drawing programs. And the next one, of course, there are different kind of players in the field who give workshops, short-term workshops for children, school children. This is from one of ours. This is Urban Space Agents in this picture. And the last example is about culture paths, which are organized by the municipalities. So they want to present the architecture, the local architecture for the children. And in the next picture, there is it's a picture from Seinäjoki, which has a lot of Alvar Aalto's architecture. So the municipality of Seinäjoki wants to give every student at 7th grade some architecture education that is in connection with Alvar Aalto's architecture. That's the next slide, and then if there is the last one. It was a good thing that I made it short this time, so I will not go too much over time. Yeah, this is an example from Seinäjoki, from a modern building, and you can see from the window the Alvar Aalto church in Seinäjoki. And now the last one. So the national core curriculum for the schools gives the guidelines how to teach in the schools, and it also gives great possibilities for architecture education. And of course the teachers and the schools are not alone. There are many players in the field, such as municipalities, Arts Promotion Center Finland, museums, visual art schools and architecture schools for children, and children's culture centers. And of course us in Arkinfo Finland, and we all want to help the teachers and the schools with architecture education. And I think I will stop here, not talk anymore. So thank you very much for your attention.